Writing and playing flashy licks and runs in odd time signatures can be quite a challenge. Here are a few approaches that I like to take with fast licks in odd time signatures. Before I get into these actual techniques, I want to mention that it's incredibly important that you have a basic knowledge of odd meters before attempting these ideas. Being able to count and feel odd time signatures is the first step to being able to play and write in them. I have a lot of videos on this already if you want to get started on how to understand odd time signatures. I'll be showcasing these ideas on guitar as that's my main instrument, but these translate to any instrument, so hit that subscribe button and let's get into it. The first technique I want to talk about is following the subdivisions of an odd time signature with your fast licks. Usually when you're using an odd time signature, you'll have some smaller subdivisions that it's divided into, and catching those with the solo can help to enhance those subdivisions and help to enhance the odd time signature groove. The first example I want to look at is from my song Deviation 2070 at the end of the solo. This part of the song is in 7/8, it's grouped as 2, 2, and 3. And what I'm going to do here is to double up those numbers to 4, 4, and 6 because I'm playing 16th notes, which are twice as fast as the 8th notes of 7/8. And the pattern looks like this. And if I speed it up, hopefully you'll start to feel that 7/8 groove. And playing a lick like this can help to enhance that odd time signature and help to make it feel a little more natural because the solo is locking in with the groove and with the rest of the band. Here's this entire part played slowly. I'll put the groupings of the odd time signatures up above. These next two licks come from the solo to my song Solar Storm. This song is in 17/8, and I did a whole lesson on the rhythms from this song, but the solo is over a rhythm that goes 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, 3, 2, or doubled up, which I'm going to do here. It's going to be 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4. So that's how many notes I'm going to be playing. I'll be playing 16th notes just like I did in the previous example, and the pattern looks like this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a little bit of a pickup into this lick from the previous measure. So there's a 4-note pickup. And that's a good writing technique to kind of lead into the next measure by coming into it with a pickup before it. You don't want your licks to be like one measure, one measure, one measure. So when I'm writing a solo, a lot of times I'll have my runs either start before the bar into it or I'll have them continue into the next bar. It's just kind of a good idea from a writing perspective. So we have that pickup, and then it's into the run. And hopefully you can kind of feel that pulse. I'm accenting those groupings there. And up to speed. This next lick uses the exact same groupings as the previous lick, but this time with tapping. So we have a group of 4, 6, 4, 6, 4, 6, 4. And in fact, this is over the exact same chord as well. It's a B flat major 7, which I'm treating like a Lydian sound, but this time I'm doing it with tapping. But that pattern of 6 I'm playing, which is like a Yngwie Malmsteen pattern, I'm doing that in this lick as well. So the exact same pattern for 6 as I did in the previous lick. Hopefully you'll hear how this is latching onto that groove as well. And up to speed. one last example of following the subdivisions of an odd time signature. This comes from my song The Ascent, and this part is in 13/8. And what I'm going to do is to double up the notes just like I did in the previous examples. The subdivision here is 2-2-3-3-3, so that's going to become 4-4-6-6-6. And the pattern looks like this. This is in the Phrygian dominant mode. 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6 1 2 3 4 5 6. If you want to know a little bit more about the Phrygian dominant mode and how to use it, I did a lesson on the riffing style of Michael Romeo from Symphony X. He uses the Phrygian dominant mode a lot. I think that's a pretty good primer into how to use that scale, and you can also learn some awesome Symphony X riffs. But in this particular lick, I'm doing kind of basic shred patterns again. But what I like about them in this context is that they're really locking into that groove, really hammering home this 13/8, which is kind of a weird time signature. So if I speed it up, hopefully you'll start to feel those subdivisions just like I did in the previous licks. The next technique I want to talk about when it comes to shredding over odd time signatures is to follow the pulse of a time signature, but not the exact subdivisions. So when you're playing with odd time signatures, a lot of times drummers will put a steady pulse to that groove. In this particular example, it's going to be a 9/8, and this is from my song Surface Tension. The actual subdivision of the 9/8 is 2-3-2-2, but the drums are playing straight quarter notes over that, so over the course of 2 measures, the drums will line back up, but you're getting this steady quarter note pulse that makes it feel like a 9/4 bar instead of 2 bars of 9/8. And so what I'm going to do in this lick is to catch that steady quarter note pulse of 9/4 instead of the subdivisions of 9/8. So I play this classic Yngwie shred pattern again as 16th note triplets. Each of these patterns is going to be landing right on the quarter note. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So this is going to latch onto that steady quarter note pulse without following the subdivisions of the 9/8. And this is a good idea because you don't want things to always just follow the pattern exactly. That gets a little bit overbearing, but this is going to be something that's still going to lock into the overall groove. This next lick comes from the solo to my song Escape Velocity. This part of the song is in 5/4. And what I'm doing here is what I did in the last lick. I'm focusing on landing on those quarter note beats. And so you'll see some odd patterns in here. There's groups of 6 and 7 and 8. But what I'm really focused on are which notes are landing on the beat. Like at the top of this run, for example, there's all these chromatic runs. This is in C sharp minor, by the way. And each of these higher notes is right where the beat is landing. So if I do it a little bit faster, I'll try to bang my head where those beats are happening. So I'm doing a flurry of notes, but I'm trying to make sure I'm landing right on the beat with all of these runs. If I string this whole ascending part together, hopefully you can feel where the pulse is. The last technique I want to talk about when playing fast over odd time signatures is the idea of sheets of sound. And what I mean by that is just a bunch of notes played as fast as possible within a certain amount of time. So instead of locking into the groove of a subdivision exactly, playing straight 16th notes perfectly, I'm going to play as many notes as possible within, I don't know, say a measure or a certain amount of time, and I'm going to try to land on the downbeat of the next measure or hit a certain accent at the end of my run. And this can be a little bit weird depending on what you're playing. But this first lick comes from the solo of my song Surface Tension, just like one of the previous licks. And it starts off with some 16th note triplets. But at the end, it goes into these tapping runs, where I'm basically playing as many notes as I possibly can, and I'm trying to land on that low note on the downbeat of the next measure. So it's this sheet of sound that just floats over the beat, and then hopefully, if I do it right, I can land on the downbeat of the next measure. And what I like to do is combine this idea with some of the previous examples where I'm really locking into the groove. So throughout a solo, I might have licks that are specifically meant to be straight 16th notes that lock into the groove perfectly, and then the next lick might be something that floats over the beat. And you can kind of go between these two different feels when you're playing fast for different effects. So when I'm writing solos, I'm thinking about that. It's like, okay, is this time for something that's going to really lock into the groove perfectly, or is it time to just kind of rip over the top of it and then land in a certain spot? Like, I'm going to go from the bottom of the guitar all the way up to the top of the guitar within this certain amount of time. Doesn't really matter how I'm latching onto the groove. I'm just going to get from here to there as fast as possible because I want that feeling of the notes just kind of flying by all the way up to the top. So kind of going between these two different ideas is really, really effective. What you just heard is from the end of the solo to my song Cosmic Void, and I'm not even going to attempt to try to play this without the backing track. The rhythm of this part of the song is so weird that anything I play would just kind of feel like random shredding. And that's basically what it is. I'm basically playing as many notes as I possibly can, really leaning into this sheets of sound type of effect. And then I'm trying to land on certain notes when the chord change so that I can kind of catch those. It's really important to me to catch those chord changes, especially because they're not staying in the same key. But really, I'm just going for it. I kind of worked out some patterns I liked, and then I just played along with the song for a while until I kind of fit as many notes as I could within a certain amount of time. And if you look at the tab, it's kind of like all over the place. You know, it's like, I don't know, 11 against 6, like tuplets and stuff. And it seems like totally crazy, and it kind of is, but really for me, it's just kind of like, these are licks that I feel really comfortable with playing really fast, and I just kind of strung them all together in this part of the solo that's really kind of ramped up to the climax of the solo, and it felt right to just go for it. I've done lots of melodic stuff before that, and the solo built to a point where it made sense to just go for it. So some of these things are a feel thing, and based on how you play and the kind of fast licks that you like to play, these things might vary. You know, when it comes to doing this kind of stuff, I lean into certain patterns that I feel really comfortable with and that I've done for a long time. I'll try to work out new stuff, but for the sheets of sound effect, sometimes it doesn't even matter exactly what it is, what the run is. It's more the effect of having a ton of notes happening at once. I do more kind of sculpting of the exact licks when I'm locking into the tempo more, because that's a place where I can really get more interesting lines and stuff. If I'm just playing as fast as possible, sometimes you kind of have to do patterns that you feel really comfortable with. That's just how it works. shredding you just heard was from an arrangement of a StarCraft song I did with my good friend Esteban Roybal a few years back. And this is the same exact kind of thing as Cosmic Void, where I'm just shredding over the top of this. Now this is a little bit simpler, as the time signatures here are 4/4, 3/4, 4/4, 4/4, not nearly as complex as the weird 11/8 groove that was happening in Cosmic Void. But I'm just doing these big shredding patterns. I do a big picking run down. And hopefully I land on that low note on the downbeat, and then from there I do a bunch of big sweeps. And honestly, in the final recording, this isn't even played that cleanly. It's more for the effect of the big sweeps. So I'll try to play this up to speed. So how would I put all of these ideas together in an actual lead part? I want to take a look at a section from my latest single, Paramnesia. This is the second verse, which is also kind of like a solo lead section. And here I'm going to be using all three of these different techniques I've talked about over this groove in 11/8, which is grouped as 2/3-2/2/2. Now, in some places here, I'm kind of just going along with the pulse. Other places I'm latching onto that groove specifically. And then there's a few places where I'm floating over the beat more. In this case, the parts where I'm floating over the beat are the slower sections where I'm holding out melodies. And that's because I kind of improvised these a little bit when I was recording, just whatever felt natural. So what I'm going to do is put this tab on the screen, and above it, I'll show where I'm doing each of these different techniques, so you can get an idea of how I do this kind of thing when I'm composing a whole solo or a whole lead section. So there are a few techniques for writing shreddy licks over odd time signatures. This is obviously a very difficult thing to get a handle on, but if you're going to play music in odd time signatures, it is important to be able to write solos and leads over them. If you'd like more detailed instruction on this or any other prog related topic, consider hitting me up for some private lessons. I have a few openings at the moment. And if you enjoyed this lesson, subscribe, hit the bell notification, like, comment, share. Till next time, stay proggy.